All right, a couple things from sea trials this last weekend that went on. Number one, I couldn't get the live wells to work, but I did do a little more homework when I got home, and I found that there are indeed valves on the intake side, both of which were closed. I know the pump ran, which is good, so next time on the water, I'll make sure the valves are open this time. I suspect they're fine. The trolling motor worked great. The depth finder for it, however, did not. And I could not get it to come on. I did verify that I've got power going to it. Everything looked really good that way. I guess I took it out of here already, but the I did find on the depth finder itself it had a broken off pin in the back at the 15 pin connection. So that thing is trash. It's gonna go. I coincidentally happen to have another Lawrence unit, and that's the transducer for it. It was off my old pontoon boat. It's actually newer than the one that was on this boat. Going to go on, should be just fine. Start the motor up here in a minute. I'm just topping up the batteries a little bit. I am getting an alarm condition for beeps when you first start the motor, which is one of two things: either the reserve oil tank or the water and fuel. Could be either one. I think it's water. I think it's the. I'm going to start with the presumption that I'm a little low in the reserve tank, which I know is not full, which it is supposed to be all the way full. So I'll start this here in a minute and I'll show you. We're going to run through the procedure to get it full. I can fill it up, or I'd like to see the motor do it itself to know that everything is pumping the way it's supposed to. What else did we learn? It was actually the second time out. The absolute first time out, we had the left-hand prop on because this says it's counter-rotating, only to find out that this motor certainly is not a counter-rotating motor, which means the lower unit was switched out. I put a right-hand prop on and performed fine. I got a 19 pitch on this boat right now, which seems to be under-propped because the other thing I got running it around was an overspeed alarm going off. Merc monitor resistor plug will be in later this week, then I'll know for sure. That I'm questioning how accurate the tack is on this boat on the analog tack, because it didn't seem to me that I was up anywhere near the RPM range where that should be going off. If you look at the serial number sticker on this thing, it's a 5750 motor, so I know I was nowhere near that, at least not on the tack, and it didn't sound like it either. The other thing about this lower unit being switched out is the water pressure tube that's coming out going up to the sensor was cut, and it seems like it was the wrong length. All going to probably, when they put this other lower unit on, it probably had they cut it somewhere in the middle. So somebody before we got this motor, and since I know it came out of the Navy, somebody in the Navy in their maintenance yard decided to put a different lower unit on it. I don't think the anodes have ever been replaced. They all seem to be for a saltwater motor, seem to be in pretty good shape, and there's really not that much corrosion anywhere. So still don't think this had many hours on it, but seems to run well. So I'm gonna take our bar off. I'll start this motor up, and you'll see what I'm talking about on the alarm. Let's take this out of the way. Get our motor a little bit flatter. All right, that's as flat as it's gonna get. Should be flat enough. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to take the cowling off. Put that aside. I don't know how well this translates on the camera, but the oil level is about here. It really is supposed to be completely full, so I think this sensor is probably what's going on. We're going to loosen this cap, run the boat, see if this oil tank fills up, which is what it's supposed to do. I'm going to go turn on the water. Water's on. I think we're flowing pretty good. There we go. Alright, let's start this up and you'll hear the condition I'm talking about. Let's see what goes on. No, of course not. Alright, so there was our alarm. Let's loosen up our cap. See if this will fill up. Alright, truth be told, it is filling up out there. It is taking forever to do it, however, but it is coming up, and the alarm does come off every few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my little squirt can here, and we're going to pre-fill that. Hopefully we see it run over. I don't know if you can hear the alarm out there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it up. I got plenty of DFI oil. We're going to fill that up manually and see what happens. Alright, a couple quick updates. I came out here at lunch and was fooling around with this motor. I filled up the onboard oil bottle. That did definitely take care of my alarm condition. The alarm did go away once I got this full. However, I had the cap off, running the motor. It never did overflow, which tells me I'm not getting anything out of my reserve tank. It did look like this was filling up very slowly, but it never really overflowed, and I really couldn't get it to fill up by running the motor. So that tells me I probably got some sort of a problem going to the tank. We did push air through the lines when we put the tank in, and we pressurized the tank, pushed oil through, but it never really flowed all that well. I'm thinking at this point it's a used remote tank that we had gotten. Gonna take a guess that the screen is probably plugged up, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull the screen out and on the pickup tube, clean it really well, see if that takes care of the problem. Let's hope that's all it is. If not, then I need to take a look and find out if the check valve on the crankcase is bad. That's pretty common on Optimax. If you're having a problem getting the oil to flow, very common problem on the check valve. Hopefully that's not the issue. Could also be this filter right here. But I'm kind of doubting it's that filter. I still, when we get the actual hours on this motor, when we get our vessel view working on it, I'll find out how many hours are really on this. I just don't think there's very many, so I don't think it's going to be that filter. So starting with the simplest thing, I'll go ahead and take it out. Different subject. Well, I'm out here working today. After work today, I went and pulled out my new sandblaster. I just got it at Harbor Freight. wasn't very expensive, but it seems a lot nicer than the little handheld ones I had. I began blasting the bottom of this boat. You can see we'd pulled it out. This is our 69 Crestliner Dane. Way too many dents in the bottom of this thing. I've said in many a prior video it was essentially in that condition when we got it. So it's had pretty major dent issues for almost 40 years, and it's time to really do something about it. I wanted to get the paint out, make sure that the FRP has something really good to adhere to. So we'll do the bottom layer with FRP, get it good and strong. It's supposed to adhere to aluminum very well, and then we have some fairing compound, epoxy type fill that we'll put on top. And we're going to get this thing completely fair again, the way it's supposed to be. We've already been new transom board for it, new external transom board for it. So this is coming along. It's taking a little longer than I like blasting this thing, but it is working. So we're going to get this down, get it clean. I'm not going to blast the entire boat. I'm just going to blast the areas where we're going to put fill, and then I'll lightly sand the rest, and we're going to repaint it, because I think this underlying paint is pretty good. If it lasted the better part of 30 years already, I think a light sanding, it'll make for a really good base coat for me to go over. I don't think I have to take it off. And then we're going to get back to this boat and that boat. Too many boats, but we're going to get them all going this summer. So I do have a time frame. It's late April right now, and the reports, as you can see, this is a main boat. Reports are the ice is still on the lakes, so I have a little bit of time, but not a lot. Alright, well, I went ahead and cleaned it. It didn't really look dirty, but you can see there's a little tiny bit of crud up there on the top here on the picture. So I did hit this with carb cleaner really good. There may have been crud on it. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll reinstall it and see what we get. And if suddenly I'm getting overflow, I know it was just as simple as this screen. So if you've got an outboard tank that's not pumping, highly recommend that the first thing you do is just try and clean this screen, because it may be as simple as that. If not, then we got to diagnose some further things. All right, time for our test. Here we go. That's exactly what we were looking for. Just a plugged screen. That's what it's supposed to do right there. Leak here. I'm Alright, that's the kind of problem I like, a simple one. It's just the screen. Now I'm still getting some oil here. So let's just make sure I can get this seated in there properly. Make sure that that gasket's okay. We'll clean this up again. Start it again. Alright, that's going down there correctly now. I think may have been there a little off on the way I had that. Clean this up again. But that overflow that you just saw, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Tells me we're pumping in there okay now. So the screen was just dirty, was all it was. So if you're getting a 4-beep alarm, that you don't know why that's happening every couple minutes, and you notice your oil tank is not full, simplest by far thing to do is just pull out your screen like you saw me do and just clean it. Let's see if that's sealing up. If it's not sealing up, I may have to deal with an O-ring.